Hey everyone, here we are at I Restore Stuff in my workshop today, and I wanted to show you something that I've been working on. It's a rustic old farmhouse table. Don't know if you can see it there, but I bought it off Facebook Marketplace and it was looking extremely dry, shabby and pretty ugly. So I thought I could do something with it. If you've been following my Instagram stories, you will have seen this table over there. So if you haven't, I'll do some in the highlights, and I might save them to highlights and you'll be able to see those later. But the top was something that I was really worried about, but I've kind of fixed it. You'll see that over on my Instagram stories. But it's got a lot of putty marks and things like that in it. So I'll just flip it around and show you. Eric's going to be here helping me to show you this table. Hang on a second. Hey Joe, thanks for joining us. So here's the table here. And as you can see, I've done part of the stain here, but I wanted to show you how tacky and yucky it was looking after I've screwed and nailed. But there's some old nail holes here as well. The table was split. We've done all sorts of little repairs, so it is extremely rustic. That's the look we're going for. But you can see we've painted the base here in Fusion Mineral Paints Coal Black. So that's come up nicely. You know, you can see it's aged, it's old, it's weathered. We haven't distressed it or anything. I've just done the black. And then the top, I've screwed it in, nailed it in, so it's now ready to work on. And I was kind of worried what kind of stain to put on it. So I decided on the Ebony black. So this is Fusion Mineral Paint Homestead Houses Stain and Finishing Oil all in one in the colour Ebony. So that's a black stain. It comes in cappuccino, golden pine, driftwood stains, and a natural stain, and a whitewash too. So it comes in all of those colours. But I just wanted to show you the application of that. Eric can show you the grain and how lovely it's turning out right now. I'm really happy with that. And I'll just put on my glove, because probably should work with gloves when you're using stains, unless you want stained hands. I've done that before. So all I'm doing, I've just popped the top so it's easier to open, is we're using a dodgy old brush, one that you don't really care about, but one that still works well. Because it's a oil-based varnish, it's not water-based, so you don't wash it out in water, you would wash it out in mineral spirits or methylated spirits. So when you apply it, and I'm really happy with what I was worried about, if I used a clear stain or something like that, those wood putty areas, and I know you can probably get darker stained putty, but I didn't have anything on hand. I was worried that those would not cover, but with the black, it's covering well. And also with the black, it matches the table base. So you've still got that farmhouse look. So what we do is work in sections. I'm just going to apply this with a brush. You can apply it with a rag also. I'm just using a brush because it seems easier right now. But you can see the difference in the dark to where I've wiped off the stain to where I'm applying it here. And this wood is so weathered and old and dry that this oil all-in-one stain and finishing oil, it's just soaking up really big time. So you'd leave that on for a few minutes, 5 to 10 minutes, until that's really soaking in. While that's soaking in, I'm just going to go down in the next section. It's so easy to apply as well though. If there's any questions, please pop them in the comments, and Eric can read them out to me, can't you, Eric? Tell me where you're watching from. That's always fun to know where people are tuning in from all over the world. And if you missed the start of this, you will catch some of these stories on my Instagram or even stories here on Facebook, but I know they only last 24 hours. I'll make a highlights thing on my Instagram's profile that shows my wood table happenings, because it's been a bit of a saga, and it came to me, it was on my Facebook Marketplace, and it was really weathered, worn, and I was a bit worried how this table was even going to turn out. But, you know, I think it'll be great. I really love the fact that this stain is covering that. So you can see the difference, the dark here and where I've wiped it down here. Now if you look at the end grain, which the end grain is always on the end of the table here, it's always going to be darker because whenever you stain the end grain of wood, even though I've wiped that back, it always appears a lot darker. So I don't know if you can see where I've just done here, and then this section here is kind of soaking in a bit. So what we want to do now is I'm getting my lint-free sock or cloth. I'm going to put that over the top of my glove because it will come right through. Here's a handy way of removing the stain from the table. So I'm just going to start, where did I even start? I started here, went down there, and then came back in this section here. So I'm just going to wipe back. You can kind of follow it there, but look at that. If you can get in close there, Eric, that's awesome.
Marilyn's asked if you think the lighter SFOs would cover the wood putty.
Yeah, I don't think so, and that's what I was worried about, Marilyn. I was worried that it wouldn't, especially the natural. The natural's just a clear, so the clear's not going to cover those putty stains. I think the cappuccino probably would, which is a darker brown, so the darker you go, the more it would cover. I mean, you can see here the putty holes. You can still see that they are there, but they're obviously stained in the black. So here we go, just removing the excess of the stain on the grain of the wood. Another thing that I would love to try sometime, not sure if I'll do it on this table, but see how you can see the grain looks quite raised in some areas? I'm imagining sanding that, just the top surface layer, and seeing that black all pitted in the grooves. I think that would come up really nicely. What do you think? Should I try that? If you're watching, let me know if I should try that on this table, but I think it would be so lovely. Imagine doing this with a whitewash and that similar thing. You're kind of seeing that in the grooves. So you can see, if you look along this side, I don't know if it'll show on the camera with the light, you can see the shininess of here where I haven't wiped back yet, and where I've wiped back here, we've removed the excess from the surface. So here we go again, just wiping across, wiping along with the grain of the wood. And I'm just using a lint-free cloth, which happens to be a sock, just fits great on your hand. I've also got a glove underneath because that stain will come through onto your hand. And like I said, just work in sections along your table. It's a all-in-one stain and finishing oil, so it will add protection. It's not just a stain, but it's doing both at the one time. And because it just leaves a lovely matte finish, so I'm really loving these stain and finishing oils. So there we go. You can also add subsequent coats. You can add as many coats as you like. If you wanted the stain to be darker, you just add some more coats. So anyway, just thought I'd go live and show you that. I just wanted to show you how I did this stain yesterday on the live, and now I'm just sanding back a little bit more because I wanted to see some of this grain to show through a little bit more, and I'm really liking the way that's showing through even better. So I'm not sure if you can see, I've sanded along here just up until this section, and I've still got this to go, but I wanted to do it by hand because I wanted to be careful not to totally reveal some of these putty marks, and if they do become a little bit more visible, I can always just touch them up with a little bit of the black stain. But I really like the way that grain's coming through. So I'll just show you, I've just gotten a sanding block and a medium grit sandpaper so that I can make sure it's flat on the surface, and then just rubbing it along the surface like this. You can see the grain of the wood, raw wood showing through better. I've also been going along the edges here, so giving it a little bit more timber to show through on the edges. So yeah, I'm really liking that. So I'm just going to continue with that until I'm happy with the look. Then I'll go over it with a clear coat or a natural in the stain and finishing oil.